Hey everyone, welcome to Home Service Headquarters. Joining us today is Zach Bleakly from Bear Mountain Builds. If you are at all handy or even a little curious about woodworking, Zach is someone you're going to want to check out. Today I'll talk with him about what it takes to operate one or many side hustles, and you'll hear from Zach, who runs a woodworking and DIY YouTube channel with over 150,000 subscribers, as well as owns and operates an Airbnb property, and both of those things are on top of his 9-to-5 job as a mechanical engineer. If you've been there or ever considered what it takes to run a side hustle, Zach has some advice for you. This is Home Service Headquarters. Hey everyone, welcome back to Home Service Headquarters. Today we have a very special guest with us today, Zach Bleakly from Bear Mountain Builds, bearmountainbuilds.com, and the Bear Mountain Builds YouTube channel. How you doing today, Zach? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. Pleasure to be here.
Well, Zach, I love your channel, but it is only 4 years old, right? Happy anniversary. September 12th, I looked. It was your first video.
Thank you.
And you have already jumped to 150,000 subs. Congrats on that, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very stoked about hitting the 150,000 mark.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember 4 years ago, I think I saw one of your first videos and you had just passed maybe 1,200 views. And man, time has flown by.
Oh yeah, I remember back in the day when we got our first 100 views on a video, and I was going like, "What? 100 people saw this video? I don't even know that many people."
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the first time you're like, all right, I know the first 10 views were my dad, my mom, these friends I sent it to, and me on 3 different laptops.
Exactly. Yeah, and yeah, we broke that 100, and I was going, "Wow." And then the big one, really big one, was when I got my first dislike on one of my videos, because I was like, "That person I genuinely don't know. That is fantastic."
How quick did you get your first dislike?
It took a while. I think it was probably about by video 3, I got my first
Yeah.
dislike. And that was, I think that was one of the first videos that broke the kind of like 500 view mark. And I was just
Yep.
going, sweet, awesome. We're getting views now.
That's amazing. So for everyone out there in the world who hasn't met Zach, I highly encourage you to head over to Bear Mountain Builds on YouTube. The videos are just super high quality. The plans for the things he makes are always available, super easy to follow along, and honestly, just entertaining. If you have no even desire to build what he's building, it's entertaining enough to just watch the whole thing. So I highly encourage you to do that. But Zach, so just I want to dive into a little bit about you. Um, People might not understand someone who has 150,000 followers on or subscribers on YouTube. Is that your full-time thing, or do you have a job outside of YouTube?
Well, it would be kind of fun if it was my full-time job, but no, I do have a regular 9 to 5. I work as a mechanical engineer.
Nice.
And I do that Monday through Friday, just like everybody else.
Awesome. Yeah. So go mechanical engineers.
Yep.
I've probably never mentioned it before. That's what I was trained in. I was trained as a mechanical engineer as well. And so special place in my heart for the mechies out in the world. So
Absolutely.
9 to 5, you're a mechanical engineer. And you also told me you're also a landlord. You have an Airbnb property as well. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I do own a property up on Leech Lake up in Minnesota. If you ever guys want to
Nice.
look it up, it's called Moose Hill. Happy
Moose
to have you
Hill
stay
on
there.
Leech
Yep,
Lake.
on Leech Lake. But we opened that up this last April, so we're coming up on what, 3/4 of the year now. So we're
Yep.
about to head through our first winter and see how that goes. I think we're expecting some ice fishermen up there, but it's been a good time. I had a good time with it, and it was fun building it out. But I've been focusing even more so now on YouTube at this rate, and we'll see what the future holds for it.
Awesome. So you are a mechanical engineer, 9 to 5. You're an Airbnb owner, and you are also, I see in the background there, you're in your kitchen remodeling the entirety of your house,
Yep.
and you're running a YouTube channel where you're teaching people just how to make some really cool things. So let's dive into that. What started your YouTube journey? When did you say, I have things that I want to teach other people to make.
Yeah, so I think it kind of started back in college where doing my homework for engineering, which gets a little dull at times. So I would usually
Very
pop
dull.
on, exact, very dull. I'd pop on a show of some sort on Netflix or Prime, whatever. And I got to the point where I kind of just had burned through everything that I had available to me.
Yep.
And I started going, well, I started getting into Jeep Wranglers at that point, honestly. And I started watching a few
Nice.
YouTube videos about people who own Jeep Wranglers and some of the stuff that they were doing. And I started going, I kind of like YouTube. It's like all these individual channels are their own shows as opposed to like trying to watch a dedicated actual fictional show. It's just like real people doing real stuff. And I started
Yep.
to really get into it. And that was probably about my junior year. And then probably about my senior year, I was pretty heavily invested where YouTube was pretty much my main source of content that I was consuming.
Yep.
And I eventually graduated and was in my job and everything, and I was still consuming YouTube. And I was going, you know what? It would be kind of cool to have a YouTube channel. And honestly, my thought didn't really go much further than that. And
Yep.
I actually told my dad about that. And what most people, even people on my channel, don't even really know is the Bear Mountain Builds is a family channel. It
Yeah.
is. I'm the guy on the camera and doing all the builds and everything, but my dad is behind the camera and he helps with doing a lot
Okay.
of setup for stuff for that, and he also is the editor for the channel as well. So it kind of all started off
Nice.
with this kind of family dynamic because I went over to my parents' place one time. My dad said, "You know what? You mentioned starting a YouTube channel. Let's do it." And I was going, "Okay, what would we do? I don't know." And like I didn't really couldn't really think of what I wanted to do, and we kind of brainstormed a while and we're like, well, we build stuff all the time and we kind of have it as a hobby ourselves where as I was growing up, we'd always work in the shop together and decided, you know what? Let's just try doing a DIY building channel of some sort. And we sat down, brainstormed some ideas and for what we wanted to call ourselves. And for some reason, Bear Mountain Builds, really stood out to us. I think, it's I people always ask where the name came
Yeah.
from.
What does a Bear Mountain mean?
Exactly. And I honestly, I have no idea. Whenever my dad and I generate names for something, for some reason, bear always comes up.
Fair
Even
enough.
I don't know why, but I decided to tell people that we are based in a White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and that I really
That
like the
makes a lot of
mountains.
sense.
So it's Bear Mountain Builds. And apparently, there's a
Yeah, I
Bear
know you
Mountain in New
always.
York.
There actually is a Bear
There
Mountain.
in New York, there's people that have left comments on videos going, "Hey, it's so great to see like a fellow New Yorker making a YouTube channel." I'm
And
like,
you're like,
"Man, boy, I have something to tell you."
sorry to disappoint. I live in White Bear and I like mountains. So
Yep,
that's the story.
yep,
Um,
exactly.
that's amazing. So you and your dad have been woodworkers for a long time. Woodworkers, um, DIYers, landlords. So working with your hands, very common. Now, how about producing videos? Does that run in the blood or is that new?
It's relatively new.
Okay.
My dad did have a background in advertisement and everything, and
Okay.
he would work on ads that are video formatting, but he would never be the actual editor or anything. I mean, that stuff's always hired out, so it was a definite learning curve for us both to figure
Yep.
out how to actually make a video. And boy, I mean, if you look at some of our early videos compared to what we're doing now, it's night and day difference. I mean, I remember the first video we recorded, we were doing how to install a glass shower wall for your shower. And
Yep.
I remember we slapped me in front of the camera and we were basically like, all right, talk about something about what we're doing. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to say to this thing. So we ended up getting like a piece of scrap cardboard and a Sharpie. And I wrote on there what I wanted to say. And then we held it. We used painter's tape and taped it underneath the camera. And you can see
Oh
me
my
standing there in front of the camera, going like looking down below the camera, reading my cardboard sheet. Totally. And that was our first escapade into video making and how to
man,
do all that
that's
stuff.
crazy to me because when I watch your videos now, first of all, I've told you this many times, but your quality and the content of production that you and your dad have is just such a high level. And you look so confident in front of the camera. It's funny thinking of a time when you were like standing in front of the camera, not knowing what to do, because you seem so natural at this point.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. There's been 4 years of trial and error going into that, but you see the final products on those videos, and nobody
Yeah.
sees the 20 takes before it where I kept screwing up the word, where I was like flubbing stuff together, or
Yeah.
I randomly sneeze in the middle of it, or whatever. I mean, there's so many stuff. It's like you're watching the highlight reel, really, of of our recordings. So.
Well, I would love to see the low light reel. I would love to see a blooper reel from the first 5 years of Bear Mountain Builds. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we've been tossing around the idea of at the end of all of our videos, just do some of our like little mini
Oh,
bloopers.
like an outtakes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
They're fun. They are extra work to try and get them in the videos, and usually we hold ourselves to try and get videos out on Sunday, and we're always like crunching on Saturday night to try and get them done. And you go, well, I guess we'll do it on the next one, and we do want to get more of those out there because I think they are actually fun, and it does drive people to kind of stay on the video and watch the outtakes as well.
Totally. I mean, just hats off to you and your dad. I mean, having a 9 to 5 and still producing such high quality videos just on evenings and then crunching on Saturday. That is such a hustle on top of your Airbnb property, on top of you
Yeah.
renovating your entire house right now. You are a hustler. Let's leave it at that. So, for those who don't know Bear Mountain Builds, for maybe this is their first time hearing about you, what can they expect when they go to your channel? What's the sort of content you're creating? Who are you targeting, and maybe what are some projects you have coming up?
Yeah, so our main sources of content are DIY builds for your shop, so or DIY renovations. We do have a couple renovations, but most of it is centered around our shop. And our real target audience for those are the guys that are trying to get into woodworking or building
Yeah,
out a shop, especially guys with a smaller shop, or maybe they're working in the garage because, I mean, a majority of people, I assume, are probably just have a shop in their garage. They
yep,
might have an extra car stall that they keep in there, or they might just have to pull their car out of their garage so that they can actually turn it into a shop. So
yep,
most of our builds are catering towards those guys with those smaller shops. So we do a lot of workbenches. We do a lot of different things with saws and saw tables, in feed, out feed, planers. And the whole goal for all of our builds is to make sure that everything's very modular. It's very mobile. So if you need to get stuff out of the way so you can park, it will get out of the way very easily. And we want to make the real big goal is to make the process of building and making as easy as possible for people, because if you make it difficult to do, you won't do it. And
yep,
so we're trying to make it super easy for guys to be able to just pick up, make a few cuts in like a half hour and be able to build something relatively quick, and then be able to pack it all away really fast as well.
yes,
So, but then as for upcoming, the goal is to launch this Sunday of a new expanding planer video. So it's a planer on
nice,
its own table, has two fold out wings on either end. So you get 3 feet of in feed, 3 feet of out feed for when you're shoving your 2x4s, 2x6s, whatever you're going through there. It keeps it all really level, makes it really easy. So you're not going to be gouging your wood anymore. And that's
yep.
coming up on Sunday. And then after that, our plan is to do a golf simulator in our shop. We do live in Minnesota, and
That's
we
pretty
like to golf.
awesome.
It's going to be sweet. We enjoy our golf, but in Minnesota, you can't golf all year round. We're already way past golfing season. So it'll be good to have that. And then after
And
that, we got a couple more.
how many square feet and how high would people's garage need to be for them to do a build like that?
My goal is to make it, as long as you can swing a club in your garage, it should be able to fit into like a one car. Um,
Nice.
but but it really comes down to how tall is your ceiling. Because I mean,
Yep.
I'm 6'4". My swing's gonna take up a lot more room than somebody who's probably in the mid 5 foot range too.
Yep.
But generally, I'd assume you want at least a 9 foot ceiling. Probably,
Okay.
if you could have a 10, that'd be perfect, because then you're not going to
Yep.
hit anything. But 9 foot ceiling would be preferable. If you have anything lower, you're probably going to start hitting your ceiling pretty easy, which you could do chipping, but
Just a little half swing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Um, so your content is both DIY and with a heavy emphasis on woodworking or people trying to get into woodworking. But I love the ease of entry that you have on your videos. As few cuts as possible, really simple designs, and also space saving designs you've had on a lot of
Yep.
videos. Understanding that while you've grown to the point where your shop is pretty awesome, pretty big, a lot of people are starting out in a smaller area. So putting builds specifically in a square foot that makes sense for the majority of people, honestly.
Yep, exactly. Super beginner friendly. I know. I mean, we're working in a 60 by 32 foot shop, which we know that 99% of people don't have access to that. So why would you build something for a shop that's that large? And we know that a lot of those guys that are beginners, I mean, I get comments all the time from like 70-year-old women that are going, I just retired and I wanted to pick up a hobby. So I watched your planner box video and I'm starting to make some planner boxes for myself to sell at the craft show or something like that. And I'm
Yeah,
like, those are exactly the type of people we want to have watching our videos because we want to make them as approachable and as easy for those beginners to do. I think
yeah,
there's a lot of content out there that is there's a really advanced, nice, like fine furnishing, like fine woodworking tables and everything, which are really fun to watch. But I would
yeah.
say that majority of people who ever watch those aren't going to ever actually build it. It might inspire them to want to
Yeah.
start getting into woodworking, but that's not where you're going to start.
Totally. And the number of tools that you require on your videos are also a lot lower than some of those fine woodworkers where
Yeah.
they have a lot of different types of saws, a lot of different things. Whereas I've noticed in all of your videos, even the number of tools that you need is a very low barrier to entry.
Yeah, we try to keep it as minimal as possible. There's sometimes I actively use the same tools over again to try and
Yeah.
keep it down, keep the number of tools down. We still get comments from people going, "Oh yeah, now I just need to have $6,000 worth of Gucci tools to build this like workbench or something." And I usually just respond with, "Hey, I use a table saw because I can make or a miter saw table because it makes the project go a lot faster and I can produce videos faster. But
Yep.
I could build pretty much anything that I've ever built with a circular saw and then a couple guides and some clamps
Yes.
and be totally fine. It just goes a little bit slower."
Totally. And I think people understand that. And the simplicity of your designs, I think, will land at home that you can make a cut a few different ways. But when you're scrapping on the evenings and Saturdays to get a video done, I think you saving time makes a lot of sense. Now, for your plans, are for every video that is a woodworking video, um, can people follow along? Do you give PDFs or how do plans work?
Yeah, so for pretty much every video, we have plans for the build. There's a few that don't. I mean, some renovations obviously don't, but most
Yep.
do. A majority of our plans are free, so it's a good way to get a taste of what you're going to get. Some of our more latest videos do cost something, but everything's under $10.
Yep.
We try to keep them
Nice.
pretty approachable for everybody. It's the cost of lunch, if not less. Um, the the plans include a detailed material list with hyperlinks and everything in there, so you can find everything that you're going to need. Then you move on
Nice.
to a detailed cut list and everything. So basically, it shows you exactly how many pieces of board you need and how to cut those boards to get all of your pieces out of it. So if the goal is to be, you don't need to buy that accidentally buy that extra sheet of 3/4 inch plywood or the extra couple 2x4s and save you a little money because you get to cut it a little bit not the most optimized way, and you
Yep.
had to spend more money than you would have wanted to in the first place. Then after that, it's just detailed assembly instructions, which pretty much follow the videos exactly, but we do have like a 3D model on there that highlights what boards are being attached at that step in the process, and it really does make it a lot easier to kind of just see the whole process and have it go together. And they're designed to kind of go in conjunction with our videos.
Nice.
I give a lot of more feedback and info in the video, and then the plans are kind of more of a visual instruction on step by step
Yeah.
process and really break it down.
That cut list, I mean, if you save with the price of lumber these days, if you save one piece of material, you probably already paid for the plan itself. I went
Exactly.
to the shop the other day, and man, it is a lot more expensive every year
Yep.
um, for an eight
Plywood is
foot.
insane.
Yes, plywood's insane. Um, Even the low quality stuff is insane.
Yep.
Nothing's cheap out there. So that having that cut list super helpful, and a lot of free plans on your website. I just checked, as well as a few of those premium plans, which are well worth the $7 or $8 that you're charging. So a couple of things I wanted to get into with you, Zach, is um, just if people are out there and they are kind of noodling on that same idea that you had of content is awesome. I consume a lot of content. Maybe I could be a creator, but it's kind of a black box. They don't really understand what it takes. The first thing I want to just open the door a crack for people for them to understand um, is content something that you found very doable as a side hustle? And at what point, how successful does a channel need to be to where it could be a full time hustle where someone's like, man, I would really love to do this full time. Do I need 5 million viewers for this to be my full time hustle, or do I need 100,000?
Yeah. Good questions. For one, ever since I started the YouTube channel, I've told everybody, I was like, dude, start a YouTube channel. It's the best thing. But I'm a little obsessed with
You are a
YouTube.
YouTube evangelist.
Pretty much. And I've been obsessed with it. And I'll be the first to admit, not everybody is probably cut out to be YouTubers. I do think if you think about wanting to do it, go a whole hog and just do it. Like, get your first video out. The hardest thing, pretty much for any task, but for YouTube especially, is to post the first video. I've known guys that have recorded a full video, but they just never posted it. They might have even edited it and they just never posted it onto YouTube. Hardest thing you can do is just getting that first video out. You just got to do it.
Why do you think that is? What do you think prevents them from hitting the post button?
I think there's a lot of guys who they want that first video to be really good, and they might feel like it's not quite there yet, or something along those lines, or they might be a little insecure about it. Be like, oh, what are people going to think if I post a video on YouTube? I think there's a lot of things that can kind of trip people up, and you just like kind of this unknown. And the best advice I can say is just do it. I mean, there's most people. I've told people that I was going to be that I have a YouTube channel and everything, and there's some guys that go like, "Oh, dude, that's sick," and then other people that go, What's YouTube?" And you get all across the board. But we posted our first video, and nothing really changed. I mean, I was still some guy that now all my friends just thought, "All right, I guess he's just got this kind of hobby thing that he's doing now," and nobody really thinks that much of it, but you got to get that first video out there, and you got to know going into it, your first video isn't going to get a lot of views. It's just how it is. I mean, it's just how the algorithm works and how the YouTube works. But what's key is after you get that first video out, make a second video, get it out. Try to improve one thing in your next video. So like, say you realize after you filmed your first video, oh, my lighting wasn't that great. You're like, all right, next video, improve your lighting. Then you do it. You do that one. You post that video. And you're like, oh, my sound quality could be a little better on the next one. You're like, all right, third video, improve your sound quality. And you just you keep making these incremental steps on your videos until by about your 10th video. It's honestly probably earlier than that. But by the 10th video, you kind of got stuff figured out. Like, you know how to like kind of make content that is of decent enough quality. And then on top of that, I think a lot of people get stuck on is, what are they going to do? Like, what is my channel going to be about? And I'll tell you from experience, whatever you go into YouTube planning on what your channel is going to be about, it's not going to be like that after a year. You're going to figure out where your niche is going to be. And like, I went into it.
That's okay to have like, your first year, you post something about one topic and then you switch topics. Do you keep those videos up, or do you pull down the less relevant ones, or do you just say, I'm just going to keep making it and assume that I'll find my groove and I'll keep them all up? I'll let them live in YouTube forever.
I definitely strongly recommend keep everything up. If a video is not very good, YouTube just won't show it. Nobody's going to see it anyways. So you might as well have it out there as showing that you have that video, you like posted that video. It's much better to have have your channel say, yeah, I posted 20 videos than if you took down the first 10 because it wasn't quite the same niche as what you're probably doing now.
Yep.
So it's good to keep that stuff out there in the end. I mean, you look at some of the huge YouTubers that are out there and you can look at their early videos and they're all garbage. And these guys that now have like millions of subscribers and everything. And you look at their first videos and they're like filming it on their iPhone that they set up at it. And like the lighting's horrible, the audio's bad, but they stuck with it. And, that is truly what's key with it. And then as you put out videos, you're going to see like some videos will land and some won't. And then when you find a video that lands, follow it. Just keep hitting it over the head. That's what I really started to do with the shop builds. Because originally I kind of started off as like a DIY renovation plus building some stuff. And I kind of was going, that was what I was going to do. And then I did a video for like a miter saw table. And it did really well. And I was going, oh, well, maybe people want to see more of this. So then I did a big assembly table, and that worked and did really well. And I was like, oh, that's great. Okay, I'm going to do a completely different thing that's not like that. And it was like a light up Christmas ball, which was kind of a fun project, but it didn't do nearly as well as everything else.
Yep.
And it kind of took me about a year before I realized, oh, I just need to focus on what people want to see. Like, show them what they want to see. Don't just build the stuff that like I want to build. For the first part, I did have to do that a little bit because I needed to build out my own shop because I was just in a garage at that point, and I had to build what I needed to build. But for anything that was kind of outside that I was trying to just do it to get some views on, they never quite did as well as the stuff that I knew that these were good. And every once in a while, you take a leap out there and try something just because you have to branch out eventually. But then some of them land, some of them don't. You're like, all right, whatever. Then I figured out
I like that nuance that you're adding there, because I think that first step you said is you just have to do it, and then you have to do it again, and you have to get content out there. But then I think you had a very critical piece after that, which is then you pay attention. I think some people, quit after 50 videos because they don't really see the growth curve. But I think that's because they maybe are putting in all that effort, but then they're not listening or they're not doing that exploration. You've done several different types of videos and you were willing to kind of adjust based on what people said or what you saw YouTube wanted to promote. And I think that's a key part to add on top of that effort is listening to the audience and seeing what hits with people.
Yeah. Analytics for YouTube are gold. I mean, you see Mr. Beast talking about that stuff too, or he would sit and analyze videos for 10 hours straight every day for a year straight. And it's I kind of was like, whatever about that. And this last year, I've really been trying to take a closer look at our analytics and be like, what's our click-through rate? Like, how much engagement are we getting? Are we getting more unique viewers and all this stuff? And it's stuff that you don't really need to worry about when you're new, when you're just starting out. But when you start to try to you're actively trying to grow a channel, you got to kind of have to pay attention to that stuff to a certain degree, at least. And then as you get bigger, I think you can make a channel as big as you want, really. I mean, I'm not much one to talk. I got like 151,000 subscribers, which is, in the grand scheme of YouTube, if you take all the channels in there, it's a pretty big channel. Like, I think I Googled it once and it was like, if you have 100,000 subscribers, you're in the top 0.028% of YouTube channels, which is kind of crazy because you don't really realize how many YouTube channels are actually out there. But you look at YouTube and you look at the big fish out there that have 10 million, 100 million subscribers. You're a pretty small fish in a big pond still, which is kind of interesting. But I think you can eventually get to a point where you get up to that 100,000 or the 100,000 mark. I think is, or at least for me, when I was like, all right, I'm officially a YouTuber now, which I think is a kind of cringy.
You can buy a hat now, yeah.
Exactly. I can buy a hat. My wife thinks it's kind of cringy when I call myself an influencer, sarcastically. Even though she is like, I guess you're kind of right. And I was like, yeah, I guess I kind of am. It's kind of weird though.
Now, is she ever in any of your videos?
She is every once in a while. Usually if I need a second set of hands that, like painting or polying or something like sanding, and she happens to be coming along for the ride, she'll jump in real quick. Or sometimes I use it for height references. Like I had a table that I was doing for an assembly table, and I generally build my tables about 3 inches taller than standard because I'm six
Yep.
foot four and I need to. But I did in the video where I had her pop in. I was like, I did this. I set this 3 inches taller because I'm 6'4". But if you're somebody who's shorter, and I had her pop in, she's 5'2" for anybody who doesn't know, and pop in, like the table's up to like her chest at that point. So it's just like, all right, then you need to build your tables according to your height actually, and like pay attention to that.
Yep.
And I have that stuff in my plans and everything, saying like, yeah, I build my stuff a little extra tall, and if you want to be, if you're a bit more average heighted individual, you can just drop the overall height by 3 inches pretty easily, and you're good to go.
That's awesome. So I see the kitchen back there. Did you choose standard counter heights for the both of you?
I did. For one, they're all out of the box, so they're cheaper. But she does not. My parents have the higher counter heights, and she is not a huge
Yep.
fan of those. So I think I'll be stuck with standard countertops for the rest of my life. But that's
It's
okay.
all right.
She's
Her
worth it.
and any future guests will probably appreciate the standard counter heights as well.
Yeah, and probably future home buyers as well.
Yeah, that's actually a good point as well. Nice. Well, before we wrap up, one of the last things I want to talk about is just overall, you are a hustler, and you have your 9 to 5. You have your YouTube channel. You're constantly improving your home. I know you bought the Airbnb and renovated that. For people who maybe it's not even YouTube, because a lot of people who listen to this podcast, they're interested in becoming a handyman. They're interested in becoming um, anything in home services, and they're debating starting it as a side hustle. And my question is, in your experience, what do you need to be successful when doing a side hustle? What do you need mentally? What are some gotchas? Any advice for people who are debating jumping into a side hustle of some form?
Yeah, I think the biggest one I can think of right off the top of my head is commitment to doing it. And commitment, and like you, eventually, you just got to decide on what you're going to do. I think I fell into this trap too, where you want to do a bunch of different things. Like you see the first thing and you start doing it, and then you go, oh, what's that over there? And you kind of go over there and start doing that thing. And then you might start to do something where like you're contracting, you're doing a YouTube channel, and you get into it for like a couple months, and then you go, oh, this is like more work than I thought it was going to be. Um, and you go, well, maybe I'll go do the next thing. That's a little bit better. Best thing I could do is try and pick something. And as long as you think that, yeah, this is not that bad, just commit to it. Like, don't
Mm,
worry about trying to do the next thing that might be like, oh, this might be a little bit more efficient. You're just going to kind of keep running around in circles. And you got to just, if you're going to decide that, you know what, you're going to be a contractor, or you're going to be a house cleaner, or you're going to be whatever, you just got to
yep,
go, this is what I'm going to do, and give yourself a year. Like, do it for a
yep,
solid year and see where it gets you. Cause like YouTube, like I wasn't even monetized on YouTube until I was a year in, because you got to get 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, which for some people it can go pretty fast. For me, it took a year, which is, I think, about average kind of where what it takes. I was
yep.
only putting out a video about once a month. But if you're putting out videos more often, you can probably monetize in about like 4 months. But
Okay.
but it's just that you got give yourself a year to just go out and do something. If you want to be a contractor because you think you got some skills to do it, and you don't even need to have all the skills. Learn on the job, man. Like, you watch a YouTube video. Heck, there's several videos I've done stuff where, like, when I built a bathroom vanity. I didn't know how to build a bathroom vanity before I did that video. I watched another YouTube video and said, hey, I could probably do this, and I could probably make a better video than this one. And I did it.
Nice.
And so it's like, nobody real. And if you get hired to be a contractor or do something, they don't know how skilled you are or not. Just do
Yep.
it. Confidence is key. Just know that you can figure it out in the very least, and just got to commit to that.
I love that. And then I know you and I have talked about this actually several times, and I'd love for you to just give your perspective on what if someone has that side hustle, and then they also have that 9 to 5, and all of a sudden those worlds start fighting, but they're scared to drop the 9 to 5. Do you
Sure.
have any thoughts on when is it appropriate to make the leap and just go and convert your side hustle to the 9 to 5?
That's huge, and that's a very, very tough debate for a lot of people, and I can totally
Yeah.
understand that. I mean, 9 to 5 is safe; it's solid. I mean, you're getting your paycheck every week. When you go into a side hustle and you're gonna be your own boss or you're gonna be an entrepreneur, things can get a little risky. I mean, you don't know. You're not gonna like YouTube. You're not gonna get like the same amount of pay every week or
Yeah.
every 2 weeks or every month or whatever. And you got to plan ahead. You got to be better about budgeting and knowing what you can live with, and just kind of establish this is how much I make, like guaranteed. Like I'm gonna at least make like $3,000 a month or whatever.
Yep.
And you go, can I live off of that? And if you can't, maybe it's not quite time to do it. Or maybe you have a little bit of a nest egg set aside that will take you for 6 months, and you go if you're going to go leave that 9 to 5 and go to your side hustle full time. You
Yep.
give yourself 6 months of that nest egg, and hopefully, and you go gangbusters on that thing. You try to make as much money as you possibly can, and try to grow that business as much as you
Yep.
can while you're doing it. And then at your end of your 6 months, if it's you go, all right, this is working out, let's keep on going. And at the end of 6 months, you go, you know what? This isn't quite panning out. It's not going as fast as I thought it was. Maybe I should pick up my 9 to 5 again and work a little bit. And honestly, I think for just me, I am trying to hold on to my 9 to 5 for as long as I possibly can, until
Yep.
it does not make sense for me to have it any longer. Where if YouTube really does start out earning that income by a good portion as a side hustle alone, then it goes, well, maybe it is time to drop a 9 to 5, do this thing full time, and try to maybe double the income that I'm
Yep.
making from YouTube, because I'm now devoting an additional 40 hours a week, if not more than that. Because I mean, right now I do a 40-hour week, and then I do another close to probably 40 hours a week on YouTube. So you're going to be working, you're going to be working more when you're working for
Yep.
yourself and doing that. It's not going to be like 9 to 5 where that clock hits 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and you go like, all right, time to go home. And you don't have to think about work until you
Yes.
walk in the door again. And that's huge. It's huge to think about. And I think, uh, it's good to have the goal of having your side hustle be your main thing, because it pushes you to grow it.
Yep.
But I think a lot of people think like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, this is the only thing I want to do. And I go, honestly, where you're at right now is doing really well, your side hustle is making like a decent amount of money, where maybe you're getting you're making about half as much of what you do at your day job. I mean, you effectively are making 50% more of your income.
Yep.
Why really try and risk it all to try and make as much as you were doing before, when you can just take that 150% of what you're making and just keep that bad boy rolling, and then until that side hustle just kind of grows naturally to the point where it is time to make that move.
Yeah. I was talking to someone a couple of months ago, and they have a full-time job. They're a handyman on the side, but they're basically 30 hours a week on their handyman business, and it is roughly the same amount of money that they make on their 9 to 5, and they have a YouTube channel.
Oh,
So,
really?
and I asked them, I'm like, do you want to decrease one of your side hustles or increase one of your side hustles and quit your 9 to 5? And they said, no, I love all three of them. Like, this is fun life to me. And obviously they're banking up a huge nest egg because they could live on any one of those salaries. And I think what that's buying them is flexibility down the road if they ever want it. But if
Oh,
you
dude,
keep
absolutely.
loving all of your hustles, there's no one saying your side hustle can't just be a side hustle forever.
Yeah.
Um, if it's fun, and if you have a significant other or a family that says, hey, I could use you during the evenings and I'd like you to stop spending so much time on the side hustle. It's all a personal conversation that everyone
Oh,
needs
yeah.
to have. But I do
Yeah.
love what you said, that if your goal is for your side hustle to overtake your main hustle, um, you will probably have to make a leap at some point. And some of
Yeah.
that is just a math equation where maybe it's all right, my side hustle is producing X amount, it's $3,000 a month, and I can live on that. Or I've built up enough of a nest egg where I can do an experiment and try it out for 6 months. Making sure that you've thought through the math ahead of time makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Um, And if you have those hard skills, you can always go back to your 9 to 5 if the experiment doesn't go well. But you're not going to know if it goes well until you try it.
Yeah, I think I always encourage people to take a leap of faith. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, and as long as you got a safety net set up for yourself, I think there's really nothing wrong. Because I strongly believe in don't ever go like 20 years down the line, go, man, I really wish I had just done that. If you really think you're going to regret not having tried it at the very least, 100%, I think you should at least give it a shot as long as you have the right precautions set up. But I also go, I mean, if you can make that extra money, I just take every single dime. Like currently what we're doing is every single dime that we make on the side hustle stuff, that's all just going right into investments, and it's all going right into future life and building that up to where if I get some, even if like the channel does not change, it is just going to be what it's going to be. It's maxed out. I would be completely happy with that because it's doing decent enough that I'm getting a little extra cash that I can put into the market, do whatever with, and then 10, 15, 20 years down the line, I can retire 15 years early because I'm being diligent with that money as opposed to trying to get that like fun stuff in right now and be a YouTuber full time where who knows, maybe it only has 5 more years in it. Maybe it only has 2 more years in it. You just don't know how much longer you can kind of keep something like that up. And I like to have the safe assumption that if it all disappeared today or like tomorrow, I'm okay. And it's like, it's not a big deal. So
I love that. That's awesome. Well, Zach, I really appreciate you joining me on this podcast episode. I know you already mentioned it, but why don't you tell us one more time, what are the next 2 videos coming on your channel?
Yeah, so we got this Sunday, you can check out our expanding planer table. And then the following video is going to be a golf simulator. So for you guys that are big golfers, you can check them out. You can find me at Bear Mountain Builds on YouTube and bearmountainbuilds.com where I offer plans and I have a couple physical products that are related to woodworking and some tools and everything if you want to check those out too.
It's awesome. Thanks everyone for joining today. Zach, thank you so much. Like he said, find him on YouTube at Bear Mountain Builds or head over to his website at bearmountainbuilds.com. Thanks so much for joining, Zach. Have an awesome weekend and I hope to have you on again.
Absolutely. Good talking with you.